Bruno Guimarães is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, having captained Newcastle to their first trophy in over 7 decades. He was a key figure in Newcastle's rise to becoming a top giant in Europe. He signed for the Magpies in the January transfer window of 2022 for £40 million. There was something intriguing about this move. At the time, Bruno was one of Europe's most coveted young midfielders, having impressed with Olympique Lyon in Ligue 1. He was twice nominated for the prestigious Samba d'Or award, which recognizes the best Brazilian footballer in Europe, in 2020 and 2021. He was up against players like Neymar, Casemiro and Coutinho, with Neymar winning it twice. Considering the players he was competing with, it's clear just how highly rated Bruno was. Before his move to the northeast, there was significant interest from major clubs like Arsenal, PSG and Manchester United. Sources reported that Arsenal were in talks with his representatives, but no official bid was made. In fact, there was growing expectation from both parties that the Gunners would make a bid in the summer of 2022. But Arsenal didn't have the time. Shortly after, Newcastle's takeover from Mike Ashley by the consortium led by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund for around £305 million. The Geordie club made their move, snapping up Bruno in the January transfer window. This was a huge surprise, especially considering Newcastle was struggling in the relegation zone at the time. In fact, they were languishing in 19th place under new manager Eddie Howe, with just one win in 19 matches. They failed to win any of their first 14 matches, and no team in Premier League history had ever avoided relegation after failing to win any of their first 14 games. So Bruno joined a team fighting for their lives, leaving behind Lyon, who were competing in European competitions, to join a club at risk of relegation. His next route could have been in the Championship, which would have impacted his young career. Something mind-blowing. Reports confirmed that his contract with the Magpies had no relegation clause whatsoever. Relegation clauses are agreements between players and clubs that set a lower, predefined transfer fee, usually below the player's market value, which another club can trigger if the team gets relegated. It's a common practice among players who join clubs battling relegation, as a way to protect their value and avoid being stuck in lower divisions. A recent example is Liam Delap's move to Ipswich. When he signed, his contract reportedly included a relegation release clause, allowing any club to sign him for £30 million if Ipswich went down. After Ipswich were relegated, Chelsea activated that clause to bring him in. If Bruno Guimarães had a similar clause in his Newcastle contract, it could have worked in Arsenal's favour, given their long-standing interest, allowing them to sign him for a reduced fee in the summer. But this wasn't ideal. Bruno was fully committed to the Newcastle project. He spoke in his presentation saying, "I really believe we can win the Premier League one day. Just keep in mind, we're talking about a team rooted to the bottom of the table." This was something special, a top player with other options, yet he chose to come to a relegation-threatened club in his prime and buy into the project. This gave the Newcastle fans so much confidence, knowing they were moving in the right direction, and it lifted the players as well. It seemed like a match made in heaven. On his full debut, he scored an impressive and memorable backheel volley against Southampton, earning him a nomination for Newcastle's Goal of the Season award. He contributed 5 goals and 1 assist as Newcastle finished 11th and safely avoided relegation. This is an astonishing tale from the Brazilian. A player who embodies the spirit of the Magpies, playing with such aggression and fierceness that mirrors the energy of the Toon army. The fans always chant, "He's one of us, he's one of us." And having helped restore Newcastle to the Champions League, Bruno is a player who will be in the northeast for a long time and cement his place as a club legend. Which other players do you think were truly made for their club?